This video is part of the IELTS Express series, the two-level series from Thompson ELT. It accompanies the upper intermediate level. A second video accompanies the intermediate level. We're here today to talk about the speaking module of the IELTS exam and which skills and techniques students need to develop to be successful. We asked an experienced IELTS examiner and teacher, Ranald Barnicott of Barnet College in North London, first to examine 8 candidates at different levels from different nationalities, then to analyse their performances in each part of the speaking module, and finally to assemble a range of extracts to illustrate these skills and techniques. Tell me about the IELTS speaking module.
Well, it consists of 3 parts, which place rather different demands on the candidates, and it's always a one-to-one interview. However, there are general criteria which apply to all 3 parts. There's fluency and coherence to start with. This involves the ability to speak without too much hesitation or pausing to correct one's own mistakes. I mean, it's good to do that, but too much gets in the way of communication. And you should also speak at a proper speed so that you don't put a strain on the examiner by speaking too slowly or too fast.
Could you explain coherence a little more?
Basically, it means connecting your ideas in a structured way so that the listener can understand what you're trying to say. And this way, you can also avoid repeating yourself. And
what about grammar? I imagine that's pretty important.
Yes, very much. Candidate structures should be reasonably correct, and they should show that they can use a lot of different grammatical structures, some fairly complex, and not just the basic ones. We call these 2 factors accuracy and range. And, of course, the same things apply to vocabulary.
How about pronunciation? I imagine it's not very satisfactory having brilliant vocabulary if nobody can understand what you're saying.
Absolutely not. And not only do candidates have to get individual sounds right, like distinguishing T and TH, T and Th, for example, they also have to stress the right word in a sentence and use an appropriate intonation. Examiners want to see evidence that candidates can use appropriate intonation, for example, whether they're asking a question or making a statement, and also expressing their feelings.
So if the intonation is rather flat, it can express lack of interest.
In part 1, the candidate has to answer a number of questions about themselves, their hopes for their future, their education, or their jobs, any hobbies they may have, or sometimes customs and lifestyles in their countries.
And what should candidates focus on when answering these questions?
A major element is extended responses. That is, not just giving one-word answers or answering with just a simple phrase or sentence. Let's show Danilo from Italy as a good example of this. Hello, my name is Ranald Barnicott. Can you tell me your full name, please?
My name is Danilo Guerini.
And what shall I call you?
Oh, Danilo, Danny.
Okay, Danny. Where do you come from?
I come from Italy, from the south of Italy.
Thank you. All right, so what I'm going to do first is ask you some questions about yourself, and I'm going to start with your studies. What are you studying?
At the moment I'm doing a foundation year at Barnet College, because I would like to go to university hopefully next year. And I'm studying a course of IELTS, an IT course and a general English course.
What do you hope to study at university?
I would like to study European studies, which involves politics, international relations, and politics and international relations. Yeah.
Yes, I see what you mean. He didn't give much information about himself or his part of Italy to start with, but he does go on to describe his studies and what he wants to do in some detail, and I'm quite impressed by his vocabulary.
Yes, involves, for example, is quite a formal word, but it's very useful in an academic context or talking about one's studies, as Danilo is. I have to say, however, that he becomes a bit less fluent at the end.
He hesitates a little too much, doesn't he?
Daniel is another good example. Notice also the way he becomes more involved in the conversation by smiling. Let's talk about music. Do you play a musical instrument?
No, never.
What is your favourite kind of music?
It could be folk or country. I love that. So in my country, it's very popular folk music.
Yes, but I'm reminded about what you said about intonation. It is a bit flat in Daniel's case, isn't it?
Candidates should have a rising and falling intonation. It makes them sound interested and engaged in the conversation. Very flat intonation can make the candidate seem bored and uninterested and can have a negative effect on the listener.
Is there anything else you can suggest?
Fillers. It is important that candidates use these to fill the gaps in conversation. They also buy them time to think. Phrases like anyway or you know, actually, etc. Here are some common ones. First of all, boja.
I want to choose because I like to be a producer in the future and to do some programs for people.
What do you find most interesting about your subject?
I think is produce programs, the process when I do it, and I think I can find some interesting things in it.
Boja uses I think. Now, watch these clips of Panil. What are you studying?
Well, right now I'm studying English. It's an English foundation course. It's a one-year course. Yeah.
Why did you decide to study that subject?
Well, I want to become an actress and I want to study here in London. So I want to perfect my English and I thought this would be a good course. And also I get practicing taking the IELTS, which will show what level my English is at.
What kinds of music are most popular where you live in Norway?
Probably American and English pop music. Yeah.
Well, in the first one, she uses well a lot, and in the second, she uses yeah.
The yeah is interesting. She's using it to show that she's finished speaking. In this part, the examiner asks the candidate to talk for 1 or 2 minutes about a topic, usually about their personal experience, something they've seen or done, somewhere they've lived, a person they know, or a thing they own or would like to own, this type of thing.
Do candidates choose their own topic?
No. The examiner gives the candidate a card about a specific topic with 4 points that he or she must cover. The candidate then has 1 minute to prepare what they want to say. In fact, many students use this time to make notes. It helps them organise their ideas. Okay, let's move on to the next part. I'm going to give you a topic to talk about for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you start, you will have 1 minute to write some notes if you wish. And first of all, I'm going to give you some paper and a pencil for your notes. And here is your topic. I'd like you to describe how you would like to spend a free day. And this is Daniel's card. So the candidate has to explain how they would like to spend the day, what they might do, and who with. Also, they must give a reason or reasons. Of course, the candidate may need clarification about what he or she has to do, and Daniel asks for it.
Okay, and can I ask you, can I choose everybody who I want to spend the day with?
Yes.
All right then. Thank you.
As does Pernille. I'd like you to describe how you would like to spend a free day.
Okay. Is it like here in England at this time, kind of?
Anytime you like.
Okay.
So Daniel asks if he can start by describing the person he wants to spend the day with, and Pernille wants to know if she has to talk about a specific time or place.
That's right. If a candidate is not sure about the instructions, it's a good idea to ask. That way they can be more confident that they are doing the task correctly.
And what kind of notes should the candidates write?
Well, there are two main types of notes. Firstly, there's linear. You just make a list of points to cover. And then there are word webs, as they're sometimes known. Candidates can, of course, write whichever kind they want, but many people prefer the second kind because they say it's easier to think of ideas that way. You start at the centre and move outwards. One thing which is helpful is to include a list of keywords, vocabulary which is important and which will impress the examiner.
Any advice for when candidates start speaking?
Yes, sound confident and look at the examiner. It helps sometimes to give a brief summary of what you are going to do.
Right, I'm going to tell you about spending a day with my parents.
It also helps, when you are writing your notes, to visualise the scene. What do you think of Pernille's description?
Okay. Well, I would like to go to get up early and go to a park, like Hyde Park or something, and have a picnic with my friends. And we would stay there all day, and everyone would bring something to the picnic. And then we would just sit there and talk and have fun and have some friends who play the guitar, so they would play the guitar. And we would just talk and stay there until late and have a barbecue as well.
Yes, we can certainly imagine the sort of day she's describing. It's well visualised.
And what about her vocabulary?
A bit simple?
Yes. It's good that she knows specific words like barbecue and picnic, but otherwise the words she uses are very high-frequency items and the repetition is noticeable. Talk and stay there are each used twice. What about Danilo?
We usually have lunch out when I have free time, when I have a free day, and after having lunch, we carry on shopping around and having a stroll.
He uses stroll and shop around.
Yes, so all in all, he's got a good range of vocabulary, from the formal word involves, which we noticed earlier, to these rather informal expressions. Let's hear their comments afterwards about this part of the exam.
Okay, so what I found helped me was that I visualised the scene when I was talking about my free day. And I could actually see myself sitting in the park having a picnic, and then I could kind of grasp the details of what I wanted there. So that really helped me. And what I didn't do was write down key words and vocabulary, and I found that I repeated myself quite a lot because I didn't do that, and also I kept my language quite simple. I didn't say any big words, and I thought I should have.
And also writing keywords helped me remember what I had to say, like having a stroll, writing it down. It helped me to remember it, so I think it's really helpful.
I'd quite like to hear a whole part too.
All right, here's Danilo.
All right. When I have a free day, I like to go to central London. I usually go with my girlfriend. We usually go to Camden Town, where there's a big market. Actually, there are 2 or 3 markets. I like shopping around and looking at the different things that they show there. I also like going to Oxford Street and Leicester Square. They are really different from Camden Town, and that's what I like of London, that it's really different. You can find different, like 2 or 3 cities together. We usually have lunch out when I have free time, when I have a free day, and after having lunch, we carry on shopping around and having a stroll. I like to go to the center because I just want to have a relaxing time and not thinking about working or studying or doing anything else. Just doing what I want to do, really.
Okay. So do other people that you know like to spend the day in the same way?
Yeah, I got some friends who I work with, but we usually go out during the night, the evening. We go to some pubs in central London, and sometimes we go shopping or just looking around.
Well, that seemed to be pretty well organised. What did you think of his grammar?
A good range and quite accurate.
Yes, he uses after having lunch, some friends who I work with, so he uses quite complex forms. What about his pronunciation?
Very clear, but again rather monotonous intonation. Perhaps he needs to sound more lively.
Yes, as we mentioned before, speaking with a rising and falling intonation pattern will make you seem interested and engaged in the conversation.